So it is, little ones, we talk to you. Yes, many voices come into your realm. They are conglomerations of information, and all the information that comes to each one of you comes through your own screen, your own veil of Maya. It comes through what you will allow. And therefore, this week we talk about allowing. It's a very difficult conversation for a person with someone with another language. All right, so there's not much conversation at all. And the infinite is a complete language. It has within it all the components. But those components are mostly from symbology, which means that the regular pathways that you will be listening to or hearing are not really the most active or the most important. So your whole world is influenced by the unseen vibrations, the unseen influences, the unseen levels of reality. And as you give yourself permission to not have to pay such deep attention to each and every moment, remember that while you are listening to this voice that you're hearing now, there are thousands of other possibilities that could come to you, thousands of possibilities. What you want to know is that as you move in, and in your dimension it would be called rise above, which would mean go beyond what it is that you're focusing on, as you let yourself move into an area where it is you have not been able to absolutely know what is happening. What you will begin to see is that it would almost be like an image of a human, where it is you're looking at, let's say, the picture of the person on the Skype, and then it is as though that picture of that person morphs into the other person on the Skype. So that, let's say there's 6 or 7 people within a meeting, and the image that is coming through to your entirety is one of the whole, or the unity consciousness. And that's why sometimes when we talk and a new person has joined into the group, we talk in a different way. We speak differently. And your universe is like that. It has a completeness to it, yes, and it needs to be called forth or make oneself steady enough for the entirety. That means taking your head and your heart away from what it is that you've been focusing on all your life. Let's say it is a person in your family, and all your life you have known that person, and there's an image, and there is a voice, and there are personality influences. There are all these things that come along with that person. And that is camouflage. That's camouflage. It's a way in which there's been a projection from that person, which makes them the personality, yes, which comes through as looks and sounds and smells, etc., personality. And then there is all this activity that happens within the mind of the perceiver that is so ingrained. You're not being able to bring yourself into a relationship with the truth of what is. All right. So this is where, when we come back into the pathway of talking about the I am presence, it doesn't mean I am as a physical body, and it doesn't mean a singularity. It means that you are a completeness. You are all of that, and you're claiming it. You're claiming your completeness. And now is the time on your planet for each and every one to claim their completeness, their wholeness. We realize that because of programming, there can be moments of fear because the outcome is not assured from the present viewpoint that you have. But you also do have a lot more power than you have ever dreamed of using or been able to perceive might exist. Understanding? So you have all that power. It's like there you have a great big generator, and you've only plugged in one little light bulb, And so now it's the time. It's the time to use your imagination in this way. And we're not saying be silly about that. We're just imagine in the greatest and in the wholeness of yourself that you are complete unto yourself, and that you can draw forth the goodness. Let's put that word in the middle here, because goodness is what you want to draw. There's lots to draw from. You can draw from any type of reality at all, but use your own word. But you're understanding what we're talking about is that you want what is right and true. You want the absolute. You want what is most useful to you in the moment. Sometimes people ask for lots of information and they wish they had more information, and why didn't it come through, and why I understood it so much. I should have gotten information that was not understandable. And we say, yes, if you get too much information, like too much food into the belly, it doesn't digest well. And therefore, all of it goes unheeded and unuseful to the physicality. And that's the truth of the information as well. So we say to you, know that you are an infinite being of light, yes, as a physicality. But when you're not a physicality, you are infinite light. That knows that part of yourself, that is awake and aware, that part of yourself that can contribute to your own well-being from a place that you've never designed, or a place you've never constructed, or you've never read about it even, because you have a body, a mind, a soul, etc., that is complete information. And so we're talking quite quickly about if someone is sick and you say, well, I need this medicine, I need that medicine. You recognize, yes, there are many forms of medicine, whether it is a good laugh, or it is a prescription of physical medicine, or it's herbs, or it's homeopathy, or it's color, or it's sound, or it's just plain vibration, or it's silence. You understand? So all of that is medicine, and all of it can work if it is in the right frequency. So your job is to keep putting yourself in a frequency that is like the great big generator that is loaded with so much power that no matter what you plug into it, it's going to be able to run, it's going to be able to purr, it's going to be able to carry the information for you. And you won't have to wonder as much as most humans do, am I doing it right? Do I know how to do it? Can I do it? Is this right for me? Realize that your own heart, mind, soul combination and connection knows exactly what it is that your vibration as a human, of a vibration as a being of light, vibration period, is assigning to itself, because you are everything. So remember, you assign yourself your life. No one put this life in front of you and said, here, you go live this life. It's not like the Duke, yes? It's that part of yourself that is awake and aware, that can live in an everyday moment and recognize that if I just stop and breathe, if I allow myself to really be in the present with myself, which means that you may have to neglect the cat or the dog or the children or the brother or the sister or the wife or the husband, etc. You may have to ignore them, but don't think of it as neglect, all right, as though you've done something wrong. It's as though you're being called into a different vibration. And if the good vibration would call you and say, here, everything's perfect over here, are you going to say, wait a minute, I have to go and check and see if someone needs a meal, or someone needs their hair combed, etc. So this is so silly, but that's the level of interest that the human has. It's very personal. It goes from one person to another, and it stays within the reality that has been created. So giving yourself permission to be unassuming, that's one word, we like that one a lot, and to give yourself permission to be in the moment with yourself. Right? So it's all right to be in the moment with the person, but the person's really a projection of yourself. So you loop back into your own heart space, and we use that term because it's normal. But we're talking more about into the space of recognizing that if you have been practicing recognizing where you are not physical, where you are not breathing yourself, where you are the breath, where you are able to perceive whatever is coming forward, then you know that you have tapped into the huge aspect of yourself that is now necessary and is always available at the moment that you really need it. You don't have to worry about it being there. It doesn't go away. That presence that you are within your being, yes, and within your awareness, within the consciousness, is always there. And there is here. And that is you. And that's the not impossible part of yourself, but the part that has been overlooked because of the density and the intricacies that can be perceived on the physical plane, whether it's the limited color vision aspect that goes on the plane, or it's noises, or it's what has been trained into the human psyche about what is important. And that's the big one. To have been born on the planet within the last 100 years, 10,000 years, you have training within yourself about what is important and what to pay attention to. And so now you get to be your own best friend, you get to be your own guru, and you begin to decide what to pay attention to. However, if you have not given yourself permission to be all observing, and you have not been able to move into a place of being conscious and being aware consciousness, and then moving into pure awareness, you do not know what all your choices are. And the best part about being in any situation would be to have choices, right? Because if you think you've got all the possibilities right in front of you, that is not the truth. If you think it is the best choice because it is the only choice you've ever known, that is not the truth. So the power and the persistence of the soul is moving now into a greater state of alertness, awakeness, connectedness. That has to do with the planet moving into different vibrations in the solar system, yes, and it has to do with the conscious mind being available to what the unconscious has been absorbing. So then we're talking about all the parts of the reality that have had subliminal messages, and each person that talks to another person or moves their body or winks or sniffs, whatever, is giving unconscious messages, unconscious to themselves perhaps, and unconscious to the other one. So it's time. This consciousness that has been talked about with telepathy is not just, I think someone's going to call me on the phone. It's the part of yourself that is awakening to the existential is one word, but that's not the one we're looking for. The extremes, that's another word, but that's not it either. The part of you that is looking for all possibilities, right, isn't even awake yet. You can say it to yourself, but you don't know it because you haven't been able to move into that space of the I am presence and be able to allow, if this is because as we're talking, we're still talking between the world of the person and the I am presence, that the I am presence is the world that your personality exists in. And so both are true to a certain degree, but your personality is just mini. It's just a little part of yourself. It would be like one bristle on your toothbrush. How well would that work? It's not so good. So give yourself permission to always say, is this all there is? We like that expression. It's an old one. Yes, it's like, well, is this all there is? And of course not. This isn't all there is. But it isn't even about willingness, right? About waking up. Many humans cannot wake up at this time. That's the word we're going to use, and you know what we're talking about. Be able to realize that there are other programs, other unconscious and subconscious messaging, other realities going on at the same time. They cannot do it because of the fence, if you will, that has been put around their possibilities in their mind. And a lot of interruptions have happened in the development of the human that has made them second guess themselves. So there are a lot of places where each and every human second guesses themselves. And you don't want to get yourself caught in that place at all. Because once you start second guessing yourself or doubting yourself, right? then it is you're looping around backwards. So it makes a backwards loop. So if you have a situation and you say to yourself, well, I don't know quite what to do about this, and you take a breath and you, instead of letting your brain and your mind and your personality take off with criticisms, reasons, critiquing of what is going on, it's just stay with the breath and stay with the breath and go into the heart and say to yourself, I know the answer. I know the answer. And the answer would be to one question. That would be one way to say it. But say, I know there are more possibilities. That's another way to say it. And you can also say to yourself, I realize the truth of my being. All right? So realize means you're realizing it. You're bringing it forth. So all the information isn't there right away. It's streaming, just like watching something on the computer. It's streaming in, and you have to leave space for that streaming to continue. Even after you long have finished a conversation or long have thought that you sized up a problem and figured it out, you are able to bring in more information. Of course, the human isn't liking to be able to the human isn't liking to feel as though they are wrong, and basically every human needs to accept that whatever possibility they see from the human perspective has a good chance of being absolutely wrong, and a lot wrong, or little wrong, or perhaps just wrong. Right? Which means that it's not the complete answer. So you're going for completeness in this life cycle. Right? Completeness. That would mean ascension, if you say that. It would mean being awake to what it is that you have been drawing forth and what you are interested in your life. But the realization of who you are is just the beginning. Just the beginning. And when you realize that you are more than you think you are, then it is the whole world changes and you get another set of rules, another set of games to play, another computer, and new downloads, all these things that are happening right now. You want to be in a state of, I don't know, what are the possibilities? I recognize that there is a wholeness, which means you're living things open-ended. No conclusions, no sensing of, I am complete, I have understood, here I am ready. Because even in a person that is realized, right, that's a term, that states realized is only as much as the term will hold. And realized as what, or realized when, or realized how. These words are always incomplete. Anything that can be described, as we have said before, on the physical plane, that can be talked about, is not the wholeness, is not the whole and complete story. Yes. So these things we say because it's necessary now for each one to open their consciousness just as much as they possibly can, or just let go. And a complete surrender of the human basically means that they're not involved with what is going on with the goal or the end result of a particular project or a particular moment in time. So you see all possibilities opening now into a realization of the truth of your being, and allow that to be your truth. And when you have that, it is as though you realize that there are other streams of consciousness outside of your awareness at this point in time that are useful, that are helpful, that are downright beautiful and more powerful than anything else that's going on in the physical plane. But first of all, you recognize your sovereignty and your dignity, and you allow other people to have their dignity. You can't convince them of their sovereignty. That's something they have to discover on themselves. And their own divine nature is something that is being allowed to come through once the mental body is in relaxation mode or has let go.